Hey, what's going on? It's the A Game. I'm Rob Akampora at a shared universe in the Jersey Shore, and this is a different backdrop, but it seemed very appropriate for tonight with my guest Brian Johnston. If you've been watching on the internet, my old station FM 106.3 WHTG had a documentary that Brian put together, and it's been about 7-8 months since I think you first started, talking to everybody and taping everybody. And now it has seen the light of day, and we'll remind you where you can find it if you've not seen the documentary yet. So, first off, thank you, because I know you're more comfortable on the other side of the camera and not on this side.
I will occasionally ask you questions just to feel more at home.
I have no problem going
where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, I didn't see myself here in 10. Speaking of 10, hey, wait a minute. Speaking of 10 years, you're coming up on 10 years with the Asbury Park Press, are you not?
I believe I passed 10 years.
Oh, past 10 years. Okay.
I think I was there. I was hired in 2012.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
So,
yes.
Well, past 10 years.
And I didn't get, they didn't offer the, a driver, a golf driver.
Really?
Usually you get a 10-year bonus gift.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Come on.
Nothing. They afforded me the right to do some of these documentaries like the HTG thing. So.
Which, as somebody who's been a proud member of that station, really proud of the work you did with that. What a lot of people don't know is the work that goes into this. I mean, you came up with this idea. I mean, when you did this, what were your bosses thinking? Were they thinking this is a good idea? Are they thinking, is anybody going to care? I mean, what was the thought process behind it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I sold them on the idea of this sort of little station that changed the face of music, and they liked the idea of this being bigger than just Monmouth County.
Right, and it was.
So that was sort of the pitch idea, but I'm not sure if they completely got it. I was on some Teams calls, actually dropping my kids off at school, and so how's what's the idea and how's it going? And just sort of really kind of flying by the seat of my pants and telling them what it was going to be about, because I didn't really know until I started talking to people how it was going to go.
Right. You had this thing where you were a fan of the radio station. You thought this could be something that could be really cool.
Yep.
But as you're filming it, you're still, like you just said, you really weren't sure how this was going to play out until you got all the footage in.
Definitely. And I didn't know who was going to want to talk about it.
Right.
I mean, when I first thought of the idea, it was funny because I had just finished, I did 2 documentaries. The first one was about roadside memorials. I had just finished that one. Mm-hmm. So they were, okay, what's next? And I didn't know what I was going to do next. And with the station, it's funny. Like, I always thought I knew where it was. I just sort of, heard Hope Road.
Right, so you had never been to 1129 Hope Road until you started filming this?
No. Wow. No. Never been there. So I was driving, and I live 4 minutes away.
Wow. And
so I was driving, and I just glanced to the left, and I was like, Jesus Christ, there it is.
Exactly. Hey, Connor, I know I've got a photo of the station here. I think it's number 6, if you can pull that up real quick. And that's what it looked like back in the day. That was 1129 Hope Road. And it is that if you were driving around Eatontown, you blink, you didn't see it because it was tucked away behind this long driveway. Yeah.
I've driven on that road, I mean, I can't tell you how many times. It's hundreds of times.
Right.
And missed it, drove past it.
Right. But that's interesting that it's like you never went there for maybe winning a contest or curious to see the station. So
nope, never did.
Wow. So to see it, and by the way, in the documentary, you get to see really what the building looks like now, which is now completely gutted. So it is kind of freaky if you've ever been in the building to see what it is now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's where, getting Rich Robinson, I mean, that our program director, him and Mike Marone were really the godfathers of the station. Mm-hmm. So, and getting Rich to go back to the station, I think that was one of the first times Rich had been back in the building in many years.
That's what he said, yeah. Yeah, I think he said it was over 30 years or something since he had been there. And you can clearly kind of see him. I think his reaction was all pretty authentic.
Yes.
Just kind of like, taking it in.
Yeah.
And I think he even made a comment about, I forget the song he mentioned. He referenced about just like old ghosts that were sort of, he was remembering. And it wasn't until I saw Mike Sauter's footage.
Right.
That he graciously allowed me to use, because that was the biggest challenge, was footage.
Right. It's good.
Nobody.
You can take the photo down now.
Nobody's recording themselves. There was no cell phones back then.
Right. Exactly.
I guess nobody could afford a VHS camera because they were probably $2,500.
Not on our salary, no chance.
So
yeah, but Mike was that. I got to give Mike Sauter a lot of credit. He had the forethought of doing a lot of taping that a lot of people wouldn't know. And this is the perfect place to put it in. Connor, there is a clip from the documentary. As you can see, WHTG, Modern Rock Radio, and The House on Hope Road, available through app.com and a few other platforms, which we'll tell you about. And talking about inside the building, this is a little 30-second clip, a little teaser. Myself and Matt Pinfield describing some of the nuts and bolts of what it was like being in the building. Connor, hit it right now.
This side, there's this one door. Behind the door was Faye's office. Behind another door, Faye's bedroom.
You had to go through Faye Gates' kitchen to get to the stairs so that you could go down the stairs into what was the sales office.
And the production studio. Not big, nothing fancy, but yes, all of this self-contained in one person's house.
It was crazy looking back on that, because I can remember every little nook and cranny of that and looking and going, yeah, I remember the Smithereens poster in the production studio. I remember the old school. And for anybody who doesn't know, anybody knows digital editing now. I mean, I think Connor's about 19 who's engineering, and he wouldn't know. Connor, they had a thing called razor blades and 2-track. Yeah, whoa, exactly.
Damn him. Youth,
I know. But it was such a crazy time. And yeah, God bless Mike Soder for that footage. I mean, and you're seeing that for the first time. How is you as this documentary creator and you see this, what's your reaction to it?
a mess. It just looked like a mess. Was there nobody cleaning up or nobody walking around being like, can we just straighten out? Is all this stuff necessary? On the tables, every flat surface, there was shit. I'm allowed to curse, right?
I mean, I think Faye a little bit was a hoarder before hoarding was now in reality television.
Right, that's right. Rich did mention that walking around. He mentioned the basement. He was like, this was just all shit everywhere. So yeah, okay, that's true. I do remember him mentioning that. Yeah. So we'll blame it on Faye.
What other things did you discover during the filming that you never knew about the station?
Well, I didn't know about the Faye's father.
Yeah, Harold
being very angry and wanting to sell the station. Yeah. I wouldn't have suspected that there was no backbiting or no infighting or no jealousy. At least nobody would say it on camera.
I guess the best way I can say it is this way. Look, we knew each other's personality. I didn't even said it in the documentary. We knew how to press each other's buttons. We did that. The backbiting, I think it's because we all were getting paid so little. And we all knew it was that us against everybody else mentality. Sure. So because of that, we were more unified than probably most radio stations could be because of it.
Yeah, it's like going through war together.
That's how we reunited a few years ago, and that's kind of the feeling. It's like, went to war with these people. They're still my friends. I'm glad that they came into my life. And you sit there and go, could I actually do this again, though?
Right.
And you sit there, part of you says yes, and part of you says no.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's a tough thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and just even going back to after I saw the station, I was like, oh, well, let me, kick that idea around. I thought about it. And I remember being curious about what was going on with the house, and I think I posted a question of what's going on with the house. Does anybody? Because I feel like there was rumors of it, it was going to be torn down. There was some things going on for a few years.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody really had an answer for that. So whatever, I had the idea, and I wrote up sort of my proposal to the Facebook group.
Yes.
The fan page, HTG page, and I literally hit enter, and I walked away because I figured I'm going to get blasted. People are going to be like, F you, F the press, you suck, APP sucks. Honestly, that's what I figured it was going to be.
Right.
So I came back. I want to say I came back 24 hours later, and I was shocked by how the positive reaction was. And that's sort of been maintained through the whole process.
Yeah. What a lot of people don't know about the process that Brian Johnston went through was how many hours of film did you actually do between myself, Rich Robinson, Mike Marone, Loretta Windus, Michelle Amabile. Then you talk to local artists, Don Dowser with the Whirling Dervishes, Tom Kanak you got to talk to. You talked to Gordon Brown. You talked to, Yacarino from the Green Parrot as well, which I thought was a great get, in this case. So, I mean, how many hours did you actually, as far as film?
It's a good question. I think I had a figure because they would always be like, "What's going on with it? What's where is it?
Sure.
Can we get a rough draft? What's happening?" And I understand, to have some constraints. I need that because I'll keep tweaking, I'll keep going forever.
Right.
So they're wise in sort of keep tapping me on the shoulder.
Right.
But I want to say it was probably 7. It had to have been. I mean, each interview was averaged probably 30 minutes. Some much shorter than that. I mean, Mike Marone, I think I talked to him for 2 hours.
Yeah, well, Mike's just such a music guy. So, I mean,
he was great.
Yeah, fantastic man.
And I almost view them two as, it's almost like sort of a buddy movie in the beginning. It's like Rich and Mike. And they were almost, when I was putting it together, it was almost in my mind like they were sports announcers. Like, Rich was like the play-by-play nuts and bolts guy,
right?
And Mike would come in. He was like the color guy, sort of like give it a little, this sucked and we couldn't. He would give it sort of a little,
right.
So yeah, and I because there wasn't a lot of footage, and I knew that going into it.
Yeah,
yes.
sure.
So I wanted to keep the strategy was, at least in my head, was to keep the sound bites kind of short because we don't have attention spans anymore.
Yeah, that's what they say.
For a long talking head to be sitting there, like 2 talking heads are sitting here.
There you go.
Are you with us? You still with us? We have beer.
Yes, that's what's keeping us going.
Yes.
Cheers to you.
So I wanted to keep the sound bites short, and I wanted it to sort of almost be like continuous, like one person's voice.
Okay.
So somebody would say something, and then I think even in that clip you showed there,
right, it was
it's
myself
almost
and
like
Matt.
one sentence or one.
And that's the thing
thought.
that amazed me. You kind of took the time to kind of piece it together, where it's like it does create one complete thought, but 2 people talking about it.
Yeah.
Which is, and I know that is very tedious to try to get it to match up and get it to flow and create that flow throughout the documentary.
Yeah. I mean, I had done things like that over the course of my video journalism career.
Yeah.
So that wasn't so hard. I mean, it was kind of practiced at that and how to organize things. I mean, I would say the most tedious thing was the credits.
Wow.
I mean, all the photos and sort of, giving credit to somebody had a Frisbee with HTG on it. It's like, gotta have a credit for it. I gave people credits that weren't even a part of it. I overcredited. To say, and, this is going to be on USA Today, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
And it's a corporation that gets sued a lot. So they want,
Every
they were all over me.
protection,
Yes,
right.
yes.
And that's understandable.
And and the music was a big thing. I wish I could have used music of the time, actual copyrighted music.
But you were lucky you interviewed John Easdale of Dramarama in the documentary, which of all artists, that's one of the artists I was glad you reached out to, because John would be the first one to say, if it weren't for HTG and probably one other station in this country, their careers, they really benefited from our airplay. They benefited, and I'll give props to K-Rock in Los Angeles, who really helped them out as well. We were the 2 stations that really supported them and gave them that platform to really develop and to have this big-time audience on the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, big-time audience in Cali, as far as L.A. and the surrounding areas, and then the rest of the country, not so much, but it shows the power of the radio station. But you were, to get to the point, you actually had one of John's songs in the documentary.
Yes, for the closing credits.
Yeah.
He allowed us to do it.
Which is great.
And Gannett and the powers that be, they were like, "Are you sure? You sure? Like what?" And I had to sort of show them our communications. I mean, they trust me, but again, they, they're a little hesitant and they were a little afraid of being sued. So I get that too.
And it is running right now. If you have the Roku TV, channel 167 is the USA Today channel, and that's been running periodically throughout the month. Tubi has it been running on?
Tubi is another one, yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's a few others. I don't remember.
Okay. And it's still up on app.com.
Yep, still up on app.com. It's also on APP's YouTube channel, USA Today's YouTube channel. That's probably that's where I think we're steering people to go now.
Okay.
The
There you
USA
go.
Today Network's YouTube channel.
Yeah, something. And see, I haven't even looked on YouTube. I'd be curious to see what kind of hits it, because to me, it's like anything else. When you have something good, the more people share it, the more people talk about it, the more it can take. And right now, over the last couple of weeks, it's just been this thing where everybody who's been a fan of the station have been talking about this and talking about this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not that I don't think you're paying attention to what's going on. I get, but something's happening with this, which I think is fantastic. So bravo to you with it.
What do you mean not paying attention? What's happening out there?
What's happening out there is that they like your documentary. They really like it.
Well, if you want to email me, I'll tell you all the problems I have with it.
Getting back to the photos for a second.
But yes, I'm happy, and I mean, same thing when I hit that button to sort of pitch the audience, and came back, and I was pleasantly surprised with how well received the idea was, and people were like, "Do it, do it, do it."
Right.
Same thing when I posted it. It's sort of like you spend all this time, and you're talking about a documentary, not like 6 months is that much time. It was actually ready for a while. But they wanted to wait till after the holidays, just because they thought it would get more attention.
Sure,
afterwards.
of course,
and that's fine. But yes, so when I sort of here it is, it was sort of the same thing. I was like, stepped away and came back, and I was just reading, everybody's comments and reviews of it, and it's been great. Yeah. It's a nice thing.
Absolutely. Props to not only Mike Sutter, but to Mike Black. I give props to, because all the photos that you got were just everybody just contributing here and there. I know I contributed about a half a dozen to a dozen photos as well. And that must have been difficult, too, to kind of sit there and go, you got all these photos. How do you incorporate them into the mix and, make it the way the documentary looked?
Yeah. I think I used every single photo.
Wow.
There was a moment there where, towards the end, where John Easdale was talking, and I had to kind of cut something up and piece something together, and I had nothing to cover it with.
Oh.
Nothing.
Oh, man.
I was out. So people have sort of said, they wish it could have been longer. I do, too.
Right.
This thing could have been 2 hours.
Okay, well, that leads me to the next question. Did Gannett and the press and USA Today say, okay, we don't want you to go over this amount of time?
There was some talk of that where they didn't want it to be over, I want to say 40 minutes.
Okay.
But I couldn't have made it over, 36 now? I couldn't have made it 36:01 because I was literally out of everything I could. I could have put some talking heads up there, let them sort of sit with no B-roll or any sort of corresponding footage. But I didn't want it. I wanted to maintain the pacing, and that would have stuck out to me.
And if you are a fan of the station, what this is, the main crux of this is how it started. And a lot of people have always wondered, how did this station come into being? So Brian does this great job of really telling the story, thanks to Rich Robinson and Mike Marone and Loretta Windus, who was a part of that first generation of the radio station.
She was the voice. When I think back of when I first started listening, I was young. It sort of was passed down. I grew up in Jackson, and I was kind of saddled between classic rock of New York, classic rock of Philadelphia.
Yeah, you were in that lane, and there really wasn't a lot of options as far as if you were into REM and that stuff.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Didn't know it existed. Then my sister, late sister, Christine, she started listening to the station. She came home one day, and all of a sudden she's playing this new stuff I had never heard before. And I think she eventually got the bumper sticker.
By the way, photo number 1, if you don't mind. Everywhere you will turn, and everybody loves to see this because it will pop up randomly throughout New Jersey and even places around the country. Thanks for putting that up, Connor, because that bumper sticker has become really that logo, which is right here on my jacket. It's iconic now. It really is.
Well, you said it. If you had any idea that this, and it was sort of the symbol, and I think Tom Kanak, I think I used his soundbite of it. It was like, when you saw that bumper sticker, it was like, that they're one of us, and that's exactly how I felt.
It was that kind of
and it was like we could hang. They're cool. You didn't know anything about them, but whatever. They were sort of into this station. That meant they were sort of into whatever. It was like they're probably funny. They probably like good music, good food. Obviously good music, but like good films, and that's what it did for me too. It was like, if this exists, and I had no idea that the station existed,
right?
With this music that I didn't know I needed, but wound up absolutely needing. Yeah. Then there's other stuff out there. There's films, there's art, there's books, and it all came to fruition. It was all true, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if and a bunch of people had said it when I was talking to them. I definitely don't think like them I'd be doing what I'm doing today without WHTG.
That's high praise. That really is. And you are somebody who's made the transition in a sense, knowing that the newspaper media is more about the visual. It's more about creating the stories that you're going to watch, not necessarily, even though you can still get an Asbury Park Press and you still can get the paper. You can still get the paper, the USA Today. It's all about the digital division.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they tell me. That's that's what's paying the bills.
Yeah, it's more like you want your check, give us another documentary at some point, will you please?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what's going to be next. We'll see. But
hey, look, I'm very, very happy with this. Again, WHTG Modern Rock Radio and the House on Hope Road. About time somebody did this, and I'm glad Brian Johnston decided to do it. Again, go to the YouTube channel for USA Today. It's going to be your best bet to find the documentary, and it is worth checking out. 36 minutes of your life, and if you were a fan of the radio station, you'll not be disappointed by this. And again, thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely.
Brian Johnston's here on the A Game, and he's being treated like every other guest. Yeah, you have to. You're going to have to do random shots with me, first off. And
These are actual shots.
There's one actual shot and 5 actual questions.
Oh, okay.
It's like
sounds better now. I thought it was just. I didn't think there was booze involved.
Well, no. I make sure there's booze involved.
All right.
For my guest, I'm like going, yeah, we brought in the Black Barrel recently, so I'm like,
that's a big shot.
yeah, well, it's more like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm a hell of a bartender,
All
aren't I?
Heavy hand.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks
for having me.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being a part of it. It's like
pleasure.
everybody played a perfect role in it.
And again, you could have picked so many people, so I was just honored that you were like, hey, look, and I appreciated that because there are other people, like a Jeff Raspy, who you could have easily had come on, and it's hard to kind of cap this to say,
absolutely,
I can only have 5 or 6 people come on.
I mean, a lot of people mentioned Bart.
Bart Cross Tierney.
Bart? Everybody said, yeah, if you could talk to him, if he would, but like he's
and that's a little tidbit about the radio station people don't realize. This was a station that was on for nearly 20 years, and it only had 2 morning guys. That's a testament that Bart Cross Tierney and Mike Sarter for the jobs they both did, both uniquely different, but both uniquely talented.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a credit to and that's the little tidbits about the radio station that I can share. Random Shots is all about the music of FM 106.3 since Brian admits he was a fan of the station. So
I came late to the game. So be kind. I was sort of, let's see, I probably heard it for the first time maybe 88.
And it's funny. I came in summer of 88. I came in actually 2 weeks after Jeff Raspy. So we both came in about the same time. So and I was there.
Yeah, Jeff's another one. There's so many names. And I could, every time I talk to somebody, I would be like, who else should I talk to?
Right.
And all these names would come up. And then it was sort of, the company's like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And I could have kept interviewing. I could have kept going. So, and, there's lots of people I would love to have included. And my apologies.
Yeah. That's why I say I'm honored that you thought of me on that. I was very glad to be a part of it. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, you were great.
Thank you. Random Shots. Let's start with this. Favorite band you discovered just by listening to 106.3?
Every band I know.
Yeah,
kind of.
There you go. It's hard to pinpoint one. How about the first one? The first one, you never forget that first one, they say.
The first one I would say was probably maybe Lords of the New Church.
That's a good
possibly.
Okay.
It's hard to say because my sister wound up having some cassettes.
Now,
I wound up stealing a lot of her cassettes.
Okay.
And I remember distinctly Lords of the New Church, The Church.
The Church, yeah.
For sure. The Replacements wound up being my sort of favorite band of all time.
Nice choice, by the way.
Which
yeah.
I had discovered through HTG.
Yeah, we really championed that band.
Yeah.
That was one of those. I would say out of all the bands, that was the one you sat there and went, why didn't they break more wide open? They were just like that close every time to becoming this huge band, but yet respected by everybody.
Yep. And now probably more successful because they never made it in some odd way.
No, that's a very good point.
Had they made it and been huge, you probably wouldn't be sort of as affectionate for them now as many people are.
I can remember talking to Johnny and Robbie from the Goo Goo Dolls in the early days before they broke wide open. They talked about the Replacements as being one of their really big influences on those first early albums. And you could hear it. You could absolutely hear the Replacements in their music.
He's a guy I wanted to get, Johnny Resnick.
And Johnny's now in Westfield. He's
right.
In Westfield.
He lives locally. He was out on tour. He actually had a break in the tour. I tried to reach out to his people.
Yeah.
Who knows how that all goes.
No,
but while he was playing, he played at PNC, is that what they call it now?
Yeah,
Art
the
Center?
Art Center, yes.
And he actually, before he went into Slide or whatever, one of the big songs, he said, most people probably don't remember, but there was a station out here nearby called WHTG. And somebody had recorded it because they were at the concert and they put it on the HTG fan. I was like, can I use it? And they were like, oh, it's not mine. You know, so I couldn't use it. But I really wanted to get him on because he guest DJ'd. You told me the whole story.
Exactly. The funny story was they had come back twice in a span of about 6 months. And the story goes, this is before Name broke. So what happened was Warner Brothers was actually dropping them. So they're doubling back on shows just to pick up some extra money because now they don't have the quote-unquote tour support they needed. So I'm sitting there. I just interviewed them 6 months ago. So I literally just, asked Matt and the guys. I said, look, why don't we just have them guest DJ? I heard Robbie is DJ'd in Buffalo. They actually came in, picked the songs for the hour, had a blast doing it. And, of course, then on the airs, you realize you're going to be fired after this show. I'm like, oh, no, we've had way too much fun. They were always appreciative of that radio station. Yep. Always. So.
I remember I won concert tickets. I was at the Pony, and there was 6 people there at the bar, and it was a question: where do they come from? What was their hometown?
Right.
Buffalo. I was like, okay, we got tickets.
Absolutely.
And they were great.
Before the Pony, and it was mentioned in the documentary, was the Green Parrot. Did you ever attend the Green Parrot?
Yes.
Okay, what show stands out for you in the memories of the Green Parrot?
For me, it was probably the Screaming Tribesmen.
Wow, I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went there. I think that was the first time I was there with my sister. And, the funny thing about the Parrot was when I was, 17 or 18, whatever it was, to get in, I looked like I was 12. But you could just smear a little cigarette ash on your wrist and get up and have drinks. And
I'm surprised you didn't mention
another
that
reason why it was so good. Oh, I'm sure I did. He was great too. It was like, we just hung out and chit-chatted.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Parrot was huge, and I loved the fact that Mike Marone in the documentary mentioned, he was like, we needed a place to go.
No,
It's like
it's
the
very true.
Pony didn't want us.
Right.
And that pissed me off a little bit.
It's interesting how the Pony did eventually come to the dance, but there
Right.
was 2 stops in between. There was the Green Parrot, and if you could have gone longer, just the Fast Lane days for us. We spent a lot of time at the Fast Lane in Asbury Park.
Yep.
And that a lot was Swing Street Legend Entertainment, Tony Pellegrossi, Jerry Bacall, who booked all these shows and really believed in our station too. So we had a lot of interesting support. The press was very supportive of us, as a matter of fact. I remember back in the day. So it was all these people who kind of said, we see what you're doing. And the Green Parrot started the ball rolling. The press got involved. When the Parrot closed, Fastlane came up. Then the Pony came to the dance, to their credit. And we're really happy with it.
Well, once they saw it, there was there was an audience out there. They didn't want to take the chance, it seemed to me.
You know what? I don't know the whole story. I wish I knew the story on that. But I also knew that once we were in with the Fast Lane, the Pony's going to look at us and go, well, you guys are with the Fast Lane. So I think once they saw what we could do, the Pony welcomed us with open arms. But once we got in, we were in. But it took a long time to get there, absolutely.
Yep.
It was definitely an interesting journey as far as that goes.
I was also there for the legendary Lenny Kravitz night, which if you heard everybody or believed everybody that said they were there, there was about 10,000 people there that night. Because everybody swears they were there.
They were at that Lenny Kravitz
Right,
show.
I was there. I remember being there, and the friends I was with, it was like, did you see Lisa Bonet? She's up there. I was like, I don't see her. Kept trying to see her, but I couldn't see her. So I didn't see her, but I saw Lenny.
There you go.
And Tommy, talk about stuff on the cutting room floor. He had great stories about
Tommy Iaccarino,
Tommy Iaccarino, Green Parrot owner, about booking some of these bands that went on to great things, huge heights. So, but yeah, I wish I could have told more of those stories, but maybe the future. I'd like this to sort of be a living, breathing document that could possibly be added to.
I would think, and I'll say this because the last couple of years we have seen a full-length feature on WLIR on Long Island, who were very, different but the same as far as what HTG was with its history. And then you had the documentary that came out about Z100. I'm sitting there going, okay.
I didn't see that.
That came out within the last year. Scott talking about the worst to first thing with them with Scott Shannon.
Okay.
But I look at it and go, well, if these 2 stations can get it, especially the LIR thing, and I got a lot of respect for Andre Farrow and all the crew that I know over there. But I feel if they're going to get recognized with a doc, we can have a full length. There's no doubt. The stories alone.
Oh, yeah. There's some great stories.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Excellent, excellent stories.
Let's go back to the music for a second. In your mind, from your listening, what was the most underrated band you think you heard during your time listening to 106.3?
Oh, God. The most underrated.
Yeah. When you sit there and go, why weren't, other than the replacements, why weren't they bigger? Why?
Yeah, they were sort of, they were championed on the station.
They were, them, Dramarama, Smithereens.
God.
Yeah, there was a lot of bands we championed, without a doubt.
Jeez. The most underrated band.
I know it's a hard one.
I mean, you could say Lords of the New Church. I don't think they were played often.
You could say that. You could definitely say that. And it's funny. I think it goes by era because for me, I remember in the early 90s a band called the Caulfields out of Delaware.
I know the name.
Who I was absolutely – Whirligig to me, top to bottom, is just one incredible power pop album. Ironically, John Fay's just released a book, and I'll have him on next month. But it's one of those things where it depends on what grabbed you. I mean, for me, that was that one album that just went, why wasn't it bigger? I mean, yeah, they had a hit song in Australia with their Devil's Diary, but yet why didn't it take off? And there was a lot of that. We had a lot of those bands where they may have been big in the UK. I think the Connells is another great example.
Connells, yep.
74, 75, top 10 in 15 countries. United States, nada.
I think Tommy Accarino even mentioned the Connells.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. Doug McMillan still speaks highly of playing the Green Parrot back in the day.
Yeah, it seems everybody did.
Yeah, because like he was saying to me when I interviewed Doug within about the last 10 months, they gave us a chance. That was the reason they remember Yaccarino and the Green Parrot. Is like, hey, we're finally getting a chance to play in an area where we're getting played on the radio. Mm-hmm. So what he did goes miles beyond anything anybody could have ever imagined.
Yeah. Another band that played there, and I only knew from going through the footage. So Tommy had, I think, 4 or maybe 5 VHS.
I'm surprised you found that. That was crazy. By the way, when you see the documentary, the footage is a little raw, but it's still great to just sit there and go, oh, my God. I'm not going to tell you which band. There's a couple of big bands before they broke wide open that were at the Green Parrot.
Well, one of them I saw in the footage was Let's Active, and going back to a band that I think should have gotten more airplay. I was just listening to Every Dog Has a Day. I think that was the single, and I think that was the name of the album also.
Yeah,
it's top to bottom such a good album.
That's an underrated band.
And the production of it too. It was like I put it on this old stereo in my garage. Mm-hmm. And every time I was walking by, I was like, God damn, this sounds good. Yeah. So, and that was like just before, that was, I don't know when that came out. Maybe like 1990, 91, maybe.
Yeah, probably around that era,
so it had like a little bit of gloss to it, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. And but it still had some rawness to it. It wasn't quite the sort of, grunge rebellion at that point yet. Yeah, so that one stands out to me for sure. And even that Screaming Tribesman.
Yeah.
I think they only had one. Was it Blood and Roses or something? I forget what the
Blood
name
and Roses of Smithereens. I know that.
Okay. Yeah, it's something like that is their one album, and that's a great album too. Great guitar work in it, and they were great live. Yeah, so that show at the Parrot really stood out to me. And my Parrot sort of career didn't last long. So I was there.
Like
probably,
you said, you were late to the
dance.
So
Totally.
that's why. Yeah.
Yes. So I was there in probably 1990, and then what did it close in 91 or 92? Or
I think it was 91 because that's when all of a sudden I remember we were at the Fast Lane for a lot of shows.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It was like, these are my people.
I know.
And then it was it. It was gone. And I was getting my friends there that I grew up in Jackson, so I had like a variety of guy who lives in the woods, another guy who likes to dance at, DJs in Seaside Heights and whatever. I was getting these people. I'm like, you're coming. And then they'd come to the Green Parrot and be like, this is pretty cool.
Nice.
Like, yeah, damn right it is.
Random shots
they
with
hated me for it. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Random shots with Brian Johnston. Okay, I'm going to give you one band or the other. I got a few of these to see which one you would pick. Smiths or Depeche Mode?
I know this isn't going to be very popular, but I'm not a fan of either.
Really? That's interesting. I would have thought at least one of them.
If gun to my head, Smiths.
Okay. I remember.
I mean, I don't hate either.
Yeah, you're going to catch a lot of flack for the Smiths one. More than Depeche.
I used to sort of make fun of Morrissey because, like, going to college in the early 90s, it was like, you had to love Morrissey. What's wrong with you? And I was just sort of like, yeah.
I can remember catching more flack because I remember being on the air and just busting and kind of going, that's right, Stephen Patrick Morrissey. The Smiths fans would call me, you can't use his name like that. I'm like, well, it's his name, isn't it?
Very, very passionate crew.
Oh, my God.
And I respect that. That I like.
No, I have all the utmost respect for the fans of Morrissey and the Smiths. And I like some of the Smiths music without a doubt. But that was the thing that blew me away, was just knowing how passionate the Morrissey fan base. Oh, yeah. I had no idea until I started working there. And then you were like, holy crap.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
and I was always a Depeche fan, so it was like that was always my band.
Yeah, I think my problem with them is the guitar player wrote the music.
Oh, Martin Gore.
And didn't he write the lyrics too?
Yeah.
So, that bothered me.
Really? That's interesting.
Yes.
That's an interesting take on it.
Why is the singer has to sing his own lyrics or else it's putting on the hits here?
Oh.
It's karaoke.
Ooh.
Damn it.
Now you're going to catch flack.
That's all right. I'm ready.
In the grunge scene, Nirvana or Soundgarden?
Nirvana,
yeah. It's amazing how the music just continues to transcend time. I mean, now classic rock radio is all about Nirvana, without a doubt.
Well, my friend was just mentioning this the other day. The Nirvana T-shirt is like the new Ramones T-shirt.
Oh, wow. There you go.
That's
an interesting way of looking at it. That is a really good way of looking at it, actually. And I
stole that from my friend Bill.
Yeah, well, Bill, credit to you on that. And I think it's now a collector's item. Matt Pinfield had his head on the Nirvana baby, and they were selling T-shirts of Pinfield Naughty Mind.
I didn't see that.
Oh my God! At some point,
That's funny.
Yeah, there was a series of T-shirts that came out with Matt. It was that. Then we had the Red Hot Chili Pinfields with the album cover of Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Picture 4 heads of Matt with the lizard tongue coming out. And
when was this? In the station?
This was the
okay.
90s. Some guy, I forget who it was. It was a friend of Matt's who decided to take it upon himself and do these T-shirts. They were brilliant, and they sold incredibly. Mm-hmm. So if you actually have a Naughty Mind T-shirt of Pinfield, that's a collector's item.
That's good. Yeah,
that's good stuff.
I'd like one.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Hey, Matt. Yeah.
And Matt was great.
Yes, Matt was fantastic, by the way. I'm glad you pinned him down. Yeah, how could you couldn't do it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yes.
It was an important era with Matt with the station. Elvis Costello or Squeeze?
Elvis Costello.
Okay. Respect.
Like both.
I love both of them.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of respect for Elvis. He took a local girl out with him on tour this year, Nicole Atkins, which I thought was fantastic.
Oh, he did? I didn't know.
Yeah. Jersey's own. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's fantastic. And Nicole's one of those people who's just grew up listening to HTG, and now she's like the indie queen now. She really is.
I remember seeing that first Letterman performance.
Yes.
And was like, what? This is incredible.
How is she? She's done everything but have a hit single. That's really what she's had. Lots of hits on YouTube with some of her videos. She is charted on the top 200 Billboard album chart. She's had success overseas. She's had everything but a legitimate hit single in the United States.
Yeah.
And she's got the material. I sometimes I think, I said to her, Nicole, I think you're sometimes 10 years ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I mean, how that song, what was it, the first single? Neptune?
Oh, from the Neptune album.
Yes.
Yeah.
That first performance. I think she was even a fill-in that night or something like that.
Yeah. And she wound up coming on like several times over. I mean, Letterman just adored her.
Yes, he seemed to.
Yeah.
He took
a shining to her.
Yes. And he would occasionally do that with artists.
Yes, but I think that I give
rarely, but occasionally.
Yeah, but I give Dave a lot of credit to champion an artist like this who, by the time she was coming on, she was no longer on the big label and she was releasing her own stuff and still having her own. I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Is she in Nashville now, I believe?
Yeah, she's living down in Nashville, yeah. And she played See Her Now, I think, a couple of years ago. She was on the See Her Now stage, which I think will be fun this year.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt about it. That is all I got for you. You are off the hook. You're done. I know you're so uncomfortable with this.
Yes. We didn't do the shots.
Well,
I mean, I should have done them before
no
all of this.
We'll do that to wrap it up.
Was this just a prop?
No,
Were we not supposed
please,
to do
I've been
this?
sipping
Gigantic.
it. No, please.
Oh, you've been sipping it. See, I thought this was a part of like a thing. Like you had to end with.
Yeah, I could perfectly end with this. The USA Today YouTube channel. As I You can tell one shot and I'm destroying you. Connor, stop laughing. USA Today YouTube channel. Find this. WHTG Modern Rock Radio in the House on Hope Road. Documentary done by this man, Brian Johnston, has been done beautifully. It is worth checking out, especially if you were a fan of the radio station. Thanks to everybody again who contributed the photos that you see behind us. And
oh, my God. Can I give a couple
please,
shout-outs?
no, do right now. The perfect chance
You mentioned Mike Black, Jerry Rubino.
Jerry, absolutely.
Them two come to, and Mike Marone. Oh my God!
Yeah,
I mean he had probably 50% of them. So I think his wife took them.
No, but Mike is a guy who I want to. Once he's feeling better, him and I sitting down one-on-one, especially just the work he did on Sirius XM many years ago. So
yeah.
He's gonna. I already know he's gonna be a fascinating. Just talk music with him for an hour.
Yeah.
If I can get him down to 1 hour,
dude. Oh, and Rich was funny too. It was like I had reached out to Rich years ago when I was a producer at Cablevision. It's like a local TV thing.
Right, I remember Cablevision, sure.
And because I wanted to do a story about the night.
90.5 where he is now. Absolutely.
Yeah, he never got back to me. So I was like, son of a bitch. And then he kind of agreed to do this, and then he wouldn't stop talking either. No, he was great.
But
Loved him.
I think that's the thing. By doing what you did, you found the angle, and it really was explaining how the birth of the station came to play, all the stuff that these guys had to go through just to get the station on the air, because I don't think the average person really understood that.
Yeah.
And you brought that point home.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
It was sort of in service to the station. I mean, I kind of joked around, but like, yeah, I felt like, you guys all did the work. They did the work. I just sort of coalesced everything.
Yeah. As somebody who spent nearly 9 years there, and I sit back and I go, thank you for that trip down memory lane, because and I know one of my photos made it with Blind Melon, and that's still one of my favorite photos to this day. I mean, because it was one of those times. Yeah, go ahead, Connor, hit it on so people can see it.
That was yours?
That was mine.
See, no, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was one of those. Blind Melon at this point is a great way to wrap up. They pulled in with their tour bus, and they were very incognito at this point. And I think at this point, they're just breaking wide open. They're exhausted because no rain now is everywhere.
Right.
And they just played. They were about to play the Art Center, and they come in there, and it was a day. And I still got photos of this. They're playing Frisbee on the lot, and they're just being relaxed. And their manager, by the way, who is two people down. There's myself on the corner right. Shannon is right there next to me, and then there's their manager. And he's saying this is the most relaxed they've been in months.
Wait, where are you in this?
I am literally corner right. There I am with the 46 jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, I wouldn't have recognized you.
Yeah, I actually had.
And who's the guy in the bottom left? It looks like the Skid Row guy.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, you have basically every member of Blind Melon there, and their sound team, and their tech people, and their manager, like I said, was the taller guy next to Shannon Hoon to his left.
Nice.
Yeah, they were great people.
Great photo.
Thank you. No, that is out of all the photos I've had, as one of my favorites without a doubt, because it's one of those. Here's a bunch of guys who just were like, they could breathe for a few minutes.
Well, it seemed like the time of everybody's lives back then.
It really was. Thanks, Connor, for putting that up, by the way.
So there's a hint of jealousy that I wasn't a part of it.
No, but I think you brought back a lot of memories. So for that, we say thank you.
Cool. Awesome.
Again, YouTube channel for USA Today. Check out the documentary when you got the chance. Thank you, Brian Johnston, for stopping in. I appreciate it, brother.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
No problem. That's a wrap for this week on the A Game. For Brian Johnston, I'm Rob Ackenport. We'll be back next week, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't know my guest yet, but we'll figure that out. Cheers to you. Thanks for giving us your time, and have a great weekend.